Opinion from Ladakh to Lucknow, one building code can't fit all India's cities are becoming sweltering heat islands, enclosed in concrete and glass that trap heat rather than repel it. With over 70% of the buildings expected to exist in 2050 yet to be built, there is a narrow and urgent window to rethink how we design our homes, offices, malls, and urban infrastructure. At the heart of this rethink must lie a radical revision of India's building code zone that moves away from uniformity and embraces regional diversity, resilience, and thermal comfort based on the climatic requirements. The Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs (MOHUA) needs to facilitate this transformation. It has to break the glass ceiling of the building code, and the government has to recognize that one size fits all does not work in today's world. For years, India's National Building Code (NBC) has provided a standardized framework applied uniformly across the country, irrespective of whether the building is in the humid heat of Chennai, the dry plains of Lucknow, or the sub-zero terrain of Ladakh. This one-size-fits-all approach overlooks the fundamental truth of climate-responsive architecture. Buildings must adapt to their specific location. India, geographically and climatically diverse, requires differentiated codes. I had earlier written about our cities becoming air-conditioned hell, and the MOHUA responded with a proposal to limit the setting of air conditioners to 20C to 28C in nudging behavioral change. But it merely treats the symptom. The real cure lies in ensuring that buildings don't require heavy air conditioning in the first place. This can only happen if building design incorporates passive cooling techniques, material innovation, ventilation strategies, and above all, climatic responsiveness. Take, for example, the ubiquitous glass FAA that now dominates Indian urban skylines, from commercial towers in Gurugram to residential apartments in Hyderabad. Glass is marketed as a symbol of modernity and openness. Still, in India's tropical and semi-arid regions, it behaves like a greenhouse, trapping solar heat during the day and increasing reliance on artificial cooling. A study by the Center for Science and Environment (CSE) showed that all glass buildings consume up to 60% or more energy than buildings designed with climate-sensitive principles. This misplaced modernism is precisely what the Prithvi Policy and Regulation for Integration of Thermal Comfort in Housing for All to Create a Vibrant India initiative by Terry seeks to address. By creating scientific templates and regulatory pathways to integrate thermal comfort into affordable housing, Prithvi is building the case for modifying housing design based on local climate data. This aligns with the Econ EWAS Samhita Ends, a set of energy conservation building codes meant to ensure thermal comfort in homes. However, these are voluntary norms and are not enforced when, from energy consumption and sustainability perspectives, they have to be mandatory. Yet, reforming India's building code is not just a matter of better science or enlightened policy, it is a struggle against entrenched commercial interests. Behind the continued use of energy-guzzling designs lies a powerful lobby of building material manufacturers and real estate developers, whose business models are tied to high-margin, mass-produced materials such as float glass and composite cladding. These players actively resist climate-appropriate innovations, often influencing regulatory inertia. This is also why MOHUA's attempts at change have met friction, not from lack of evidence, but because of the economic interests that thrive on architectural uniformity. To circumvent this gridlock, MOHUA must initiate a parallel ecosystem of innovation. A national climate-resilient materials hackathon could serve as a game-changing entry point. This initiative would invite young architects, engineers, artisans, and scientists to co-create alternative construction materials tailored to India's diverse climatic zones. From mud-lime composites in Rajasthan to bamboo laterite hybrids in the northeast, India's architectural past is rich with examples of climate-smart materials that need reinvention, not rejection. Such a hackathon must go beyond token recognition. It should include dedicated seed funding, pilot implementation in public housing schemes like PMAY, simplified regulatory approvals, and visibility through smart cities urban experiments. By embedding these innovations in live projects, MOHUA can rewire the imagination of India's building industry from below, rather than relying solely on top-down mandates. This would also help Prithvi and ENS gain traction not just as policy instruments but as active tools of experimentation and change. Global examples offer a roadmap. The United States uses different building energy codes across climate zones from the hot, humid southeast to the cold northeast and arid southwest. Australia has developed the nationwide House Energy Rating Scheme NAT-HERS, which varies performance benchmarks based on climate zones, while China has created distinct building code zones based on 5 climatic regions, including cold, hot summer cold winter, and hot summer warm winter zones. Each has its tailored requirements for insulation, ventilation, window-wall ratio, and building orientation. In contrast, India's NBC barely differentiates building mandates across its diverse biogeographic zones. The result: air-conditioned boxes that are climate misfits. The punishment is twofold: rising energy consumption expected to triple by 2040, primarily driven by cooling demand and plummeting quality of life, especially for the urban poor. Redefining India's building codes to incorporate regional climate considerations is no longer an option, it is an imperative. The way forward includes zonal climate codes. India's meteorological zones should serve as the basis for region-specific building regulations defining insulation norms, window towel ratios, shading requirements, ventilation standards, and material usage. Mandatory thermal comfort benchmarks incorporate adaptive thermal comfort models as a statutory requirement, especially in mass housing and public buildings. Curtailing glass FAA aid overuse. Limit the use of high glass ratio FAA aids in warm and composite climates. Encourage use of double glazing only when paired with shading, or alternatives like jalai, overhangs, or hybrid ventilated FAA aids. Integration with Prithvi and ENS. Mainstream these frameworks into the NBC through MoHUA's directive, ensuring all housing projects, especially under PMAY and urban redevelopment, adhere to climate-specific design templates. Incentivizing climate-responsive architecture. Provide faster clearances and tax incentives to builders adopting bioclimatic designs and materials with high thermal performance. Swipe left for next video. The monolithic building code must evolve into a mosaic rooted in place, resilient to climate, and responsive to people. Only by unlocking bottom-up innovation and loosening the grip of outdated material lobbies can India shift from glass traps to climate-smart havens. K. Yatish Rajawat is a public policy researcher and works at the Gurjee Onbast think tank Center for Innovation in Public Policy CIPP. Views expressed in the above piece are personal and solely those of the author. They do not necessarily reflect NEWS18's views. Latest blogs.